Morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well and find yourself in good spirits. Today, I want to talk about culture, cultura, a little bit, and being careful where you seek it. So, as mentioned, I love my culture. I'm not proud of it, but I do love it, and I do strive to learn as much as I can about it. Rest in peace, Mom. I miss you. I miss you greatly. My mom and I, we would try and learn to make purepecha dishes. We made corunda several times. She made me a sopa tarasca, and then I let her know, Mom, that's not a politically correct term for how the purepecha chose to identify themselves. And she changed it. And that sopa was good. I remember she made like tostadas and then burnt them a little bit. They had to be a little bit burnt. And then you throw them on top of the purepecha soup. And I remember there was whipped cream, I think. And it had the consistency of like a lentil soup. I'm trying to think what was in it. I think there was no meat, and it was like all vegetables or legumes, which is like lentils, beans, what have you. If memory serves me well, I could have looked it up, but it was delicious. And part of the joy in eating it is knowing that that was the food that, the indigenous people of Michoacan ate, and we were from Michoacan. So I don't think that's pride. I think that's just appreciating the culture around you. And it wouldn't matter where I went. I would try to appreciate the culture around me. If I go to Hawaii, I don't stay in the hotel and just go to Waikiki back and forth from a nice hotel. I go to the farmers markets. I go to the hoods. I go to the old cemeteries and try to get a feel for the whole thing. One thing I also do is fresh off the plane, GOJ. That's pidgin for fresh off the plane. Pidgin is like the Hawaiian slang. At least I think it's pidgin. I saw it on the movie The North Shore. So the first thing I do is I get 3 leis of tuberose. A lei is like a necklace made of flowers. I hang one up in the hotel room. I hang one up in the rental car, and I wear one. And it's because it has this incredibly sensual, tropical smell. It's part of the tropical experience for me. And I came to love that smell so much that I wanted it all the time. And so I got some bulbs, tuberose bulbs, and I put them in my yard. And it was a wet year such that there was dozens of them. And if it was already dark and I was coming home, the whole street smelled of it. It was beautiful. And when I went to go research them because I wanted them, I learned that they were cultivated and are native to central Mexico. The Mexica were the first ones to cultivate these flowers. Since then, they've been exported to other places. As mentioned, I always thought they were Hawaiian. I always thought they were a Hawaiian thing until I went to grow my own. And then I learned the history of them a little bit. And they're called bone flower because they're white and they kind of look like a bone. I know Xochitl is flower in Nahua, and I don't remember what bone is. I wanted to say oso Xochitl, but I think I'm confusing the osobuco, which is like a bone cut open, and you eat the marrow. I remember that being there. I got it one time at this restaurant in Capitola. It was pretty cool. This 1950s taxi picked me up, and then we took this old-ass elevator down, like a trolley down to the restaurant. It was neat, and osobuco seemed like a fancy dish, so I got it. I didn't like it at all. It wasn't my thing, but that's why I think oso and then the Xochitl, also meaning bone. But I could be wrong. But anyways, there's a tidbit of information. If you love tuberose, they were first cultivated by the Aztecs. And as mentioned, I try to experience culture everywhere I go. I love Chinatowns. I love the smell of the mercados there. I love the smell of the Mexican mercados, especially in Mexico where there's leather, there's metal work going on, there's overripe fruit, there's meat, there's people. It's just these incredible smells that remind me of childhood, the mercados. I like those things, you know, things that remind you of childhood. And if you had, you know, good times in your childhood, those are lifelong things that you carry with you. So, in that spirit, and with all this taco cultura, I was at the swap meet in the fruit area. And I've been going regularly, get a big giant bag of tunas, get a couple papayas, some mangoes. I love tropical fruits. And I see this big giant fruit there, right? And I must have came off really thirsty because I was like, hey, you know, I like learning about culture. Is that an indigenous fruit from Mexico? Because I want to get it. And then she told me how much it was. And I was like, oh, man, that seems a little bit pricey. And some actually fruits that are eaten by indigenous people in Mexico, kind of in the highlands sometimes, are like a chirimoya. It looks like a little armadillo. You open it, it looks like a big giant grape with a big giant seed in it. And it tastes like, I would say kind of like lychee, dragon fruit, etc. And I always thought dragon fruit was an Asian fruit too, but someone in the comment on my post about tunas mentioned pitayas, I think, and that would be the dragon fruit as a Mexican fruit as well. And I know Asian folks sell them because, you know, I go to their mercados too. And so I come up and I'm like, hey man, you know, I like learning about culture. You got anything special? What's that? And they're like, I asked, do those grow in Mexico? The indigenous people eat them? And she says, yeah, we grow these like in Veracruz and in the southern part of Mexico, and the indigenous people eat them. So I was like, so this is indigenous food? And she's like, yeah, how much you want? And I said, all right, give me 2 pounds. And so she pulled out this big ass machete. And then she cut 2 pounds off. And this is what the fruit looks like. And this is only 1 pound. I've already kind of like pulled the inside out because you only eat the seed pods. And this is what the seed pods look like. It's supposed to taste like pulled pork, and you can use it as a pork substitute, but actually to me it tastes like dried mangoes. Like a candy. It's incredibly sweet and sticky. It's delicious. This is the texture of it. And they can be like 20 to up to 100 pounds. So it's probably the biggest. I think it's the biggest fruit in the world. And you just pull the seed pods out and eat them. And they're fucking delicious. But I got my bubble burst. Because I was going to make this video, cut it, give you the name they gave me, which now I forgot. And be like, yeah, this is cultura right here. I'm eating like the indigenous people, you see? Don't talk about it, be about it. You try new things. When people ask you about Mexican food, talk about something other than tortas and tacos. Talk about sopa purépecha. Talk about machapatas. Talk about corundas. Before my mom passed away, we had started eating huilotas, which are doves. And we were eating them in a salsa. They were crispy. The motherfuckers were good. That's what indigenous people ate. There's doves there. They eat doves. And so, although I don't tell you I'm proud of it because I didn't build it, I do love it and I do immerse myself in it. And I would say if you really want to be proud of your culture, I might have found a loophole. Add to it. Don't talk about how proud you are. Don't try to replicate what already happened. Add to it. Write a great piece of literature. Draw a great, big, beautiful painting that represents your experience. Come up with something new that identifies what your culture is. You can add to it and then be proud of your contribution. That's as far as I'm gonna go, you can be proud of your contribution. If I wrote a book about my experience growing up in this country, looking like I do, and it won a Nobel Prize for Literature, that would be the ideal dream for any writer that is writing not to sell a book, but to paint pictures. That would be adding to your cultura, because that becomes part of your cultura. There's this guy from Colombia who loved Mexican culture, and he wrote 100 Years of Solitude. I read it in English. I think I want to read it in Spanish. It's very long, and you got to stay really, really focused, or you got to read the same page like 10 times to have anything stick. Not because it's complicated, but just because it's not because it uses like big words and stuff, but it did use words I didn't know. It was a hard read for me, put it like that. But he loved Mexican culture, and he moved to Mexico. And when he died, Mexico celebrated him as, you know, them losing a son. And in his writings, he tried to add to the cultura. You know, I've said that there's this writer, Luis Rodriguez, whose readings, you know, I admired for their eloquence and poetry. He contributed to the cultura. He wrote about gang life, but he contributed to the cultura in a way that was meaningful. He left literary works that can paint pictures for anyone that picks him up and wants to know about it. And he can be proud of that contribution he made to it. But these videos, man, I make them like 30 times and delete them and make them and delete them because I always get sidetracked. These sidetracks I think are okay. I'm not going to remake this one. So I showed you the fruit. I showed you what it looks like. I ate some. And I told you I was going to make a video to teach you about cultura using this fruit. And then I thought, you know, you should fact check before you do that. So I Googled spiny fruit, you know, looks like this, from Mexico. Nothing, I couldn't find nothing. And it had kind of tweaked the description a little bit, indigenous Mexican food. Nothing. Then I Googled indigenous fruits of the Americas, and it's like Mexico through South America. And that was cool because I saw all kinds of fruits that I'd never heard of, never saw. They don't grow in Mexico, like some just grow in Brazil. And they had pictures of them. And I'm going to try and find them all and go through them. And about cultura as well. I saw this video once of these two Japanese sisters. And they were about between 80 and 90 years old. And they lived on this little island off the coast of Okinawa. And it shows them at night walking with these little lanterns to the ocean. And they go into this cave, and then one of the, you know, the señoras jumps in the ocean, like into this puddle, and she's like, her hands are going down like this, and boom, she comes up with a, I don't know if crate is the right word, it's a sea snake. And sea snakes, their teeth are little, I think, so it's not easy for them to bite you, but they're just as poisonous as like the most poisonous snakes. They're very deadly if they bite you, but again, something about them makes it hard for them to bite. And so she pulls it out, and it's like a 4-foot snake. And then the other, her sister, and I don't know if it's her younger sister or their older sister, but they're like almost, in, you know, they're 89, 91, 92. She jumps in the ocean. And she's doing the same thing, and she comes up with a big-ass, giant black sea snake. And then she teases her. She goes, you would always get the little snakes when we were little. And I think she's like kind of alluding to something else, just being funny. Like they're trash sex talking to each other about like their past. And so anyways, after they do that, it was really cute. They go back to their little house, and they start preparing these sea snakes into a soup. And yesterday, you know, I had coffee with my friend, and she's Japanese. And we were talking about culture. And she said, you know, I'm a proud person. And I said, well, you've accomplished a lot. You know, I mean, she's got all the alphabets behind her name, what have you. Meaning, you know, high degrees. And I go, well, that's because you've accomplished a lot. Hopefully you don't think you're better than me because, you know, my mom harvested tomatoes and your grandma was catching sea snakes and she was dying, right? And anyways, every time I go to a Japanese restaurant or a fish market, a wholesaler of seafood, speak with Japanese folks. You know, she's introduced me to her relatives that come from Japan. And I had other friends who would host foreign exchange students. And I've always been looking for that sea snake soup. It's not my culture. It's not even general Japanese culture because a lot of folks don't know about it. It's kind of unique to these little islands around Okinawa. And so I think that just goes to me saying I appreciate all cultures. I immerse myself in mine the most because that's what is the most readily available. It's beautiful. I'm not like, it doesn't get old for me. And it's the one I have the most access to. You know, my mom, you know, rest her soul, offering to make these dishes and wanting to learn how to cook them with me made it easy. You know, I don't know anybody that can make that sea snake soup, or otherwise I would want to try it just as much as the fruits of Mexico. And so anyways, to get back to my point, I think I seem thirsty because before I made this video, like I said, I tried to Google this fruit to give you some history on it, and I couldn't find it. And when I finally found it, it was a durian fruit that is native to Asia. Now, I believe that they do grow them in southern and central Mexico. The climates are the same. It's a big fruit. It's very productive because the trees don't need a lot. You're only eating the seed pods, really. And I'm sure they eat them. But it wasn't an indigenous fruit that was there for a long time and was part of the older culture. Because if they're eating them now and they eat them for the next 100 years, it becomes part of the culture. That said, it's a durian fruit. I think my over-enthusiasm to learn about culture made it easy for them to sell me Asian fruit and tell me that I was bonding with my indigenous roots by eating it. And I still eat it. It's good. I'll still buy it. I'll still eat it. And now I have a mission from all this to track down all those other fruits I learned about that I've never tasted, so that I could try them. That's how you show your love for cultura. You seek it out. You try to eat the fruits. You try to try the dishes that, you know, don't order fucking tacos every single time. If you go there and you see some shit you never heard of, ask them what that is. Try it. You don't got to tell everybody all day long how proud you are, how proud you are, how proud you are. That you're wasting your time doing that. You could be instead out there seeking your culture and living it and enjoying it. That's my point, man. Have a good one.